Hello, everyone. It's the first day of October, and the book of the month October books are out. So I'm gonna go through these. This is my own subscription that I pay for myself, so it's not a sponsored post, but I just thought it could be fun to go through all the choices. So there's 5 choices this month. So let's go through the first one, which is The Book of Witching by C.J. Cook, which is a gothic fiction. A mysterious hiking accident kicks off this spooky tale of witchcraft, revenge, and a mother's search for answers. It has multiple viewpoints, puzzle, witchy, and nonlinear timeline, which I feel like nonlinear timeline could be good or bad. Multiple viewpoints I usually am fine with, but this one really looks like the vibe for October, so I'm excited. Clem gets a call that is every mother's worst nightmare. Her 19-year-old daughter Erin is unconscious in the hospital after a hiking trip with her friends on the remote Orkney Islands that met a horrifying end, leaving her boyfriend dead and her best friend missing. That's terrifying. When Erin wakes, she doesn't recognize her mother, and she doesn't answer to her name but insists she is someone named Nyx. Wow. Nyx is like the goddess of the night, basically. Clem travels to the site of her daughter's accident, determined to find out what happened to her. The answer may lie in a dark secret in the history of the Orkneys, a woman wrongly accused of witchcraft and murder 4 centuries ago. Clem begins to wonder, is Erin's strange behavior a symptom of a broken mind or the effects of an ancient curse? That sounds really interesting. There is content warning. This book contains scenes that depict child abuse and the death of a child. Could be a little heavy, maybe, but that one sounds really interesting to me. The second one is The Wild Huntress by Emily Lloyd Jones, which is a young adult. I don't typically buy young adults anymore. I enjoy reading them, but I don't necessarily want to own them and have them take up space on my shelf. So we'll see about this one, but probably won't get this one. Enter an enchanting monster-filled forest and join the deadly hunt in this stunning tale invoking Welsh mythology. 400 plus pages, that's pretty long. Multiple viewpoints again, quest, and magical. I do enjoy a good quest. Let's see. Every 5 years, 2 kingdoms take part in a wild hunt. Joining is a bloody risk, and even the most qualified hunters can suffer the deadliest fates. Still, hundreds gamble their lives to participate, all vying for the hunt's life-changing prize, a magical wish granted by the other king. Bronwyn possesses a gift no other human has, the ability to see and slay monsters. She's desperate to cure her mother's sickness, and the wild hunt is her only option. Gwydion is the least impressive of his magically talented family, but with his ability to control plants and his sleight of hand, he'll do whatever it takes to keep his cruel older brother from becoming a tyrant. Pryderi is a prince born and monster raised. Deep down, the royal crown doesn't interest him. All he wants is to know where he belongs. If they band together against the monstrous creatures within the woods, they have a chance to win. But then again, nothing is guaranteed when all is fair in love and the hunt. I don't know, kind of seems Hunger Game-ish. So I'm not sure I'm interested in that one, but Dearest by Jackie Walters, which is a horror novel. That one looks pretty creepy in the cover. Voices on the baby monitor, animated toys, creepy crawlers. Motherhood's hard, but has never been quite this horrifying. Ooh, so it involves a new mom. Fast read, that's good. Creepy, unreliable narrator, mama drama. Flora is a new mom enamored of her baby girl Iris, even if she arrived a few weeks early. With her husband still deployed, Flora navigates the newborn stage alone. But as the sleepless nights pass in the loneliness of their half-empty home, the edges of her reality begin to blur. That is really scary. Just as Flora becomes convinced she is losing her mind, a surprising guest shows up, Flora's own mother, to whom she hasn't spoken in years. Can they mend their fraught relationship, or is there more Flora's mother isn't telling her about the events that led to their estrangement? As stranger and scarier events unfold, Flora begins to suspect the house is not as empty as she once thought. She must determine, is her hold on reality slipping dangerously away, or is she, in fact, the only thing standing between a terrifying visitor and her baby? Oh, I don't know, that seems really scary. This book contains scenes that depict suicide and the death of a child. Mm, I don't know if I'm in the mood for that kind of thing. Usually, when it involves like babies or young children, it kind of puts me off a little bit. So I would maybe read it, but I probably don't want to own it. Frida McFadden's The Boyfriend, which is a thriller. This was in my prediction list for this month. After a dating losing streak, she thinks she's found Mr. Right, but is he a dream come true or a nightmare in disguise? Honestly, this premise sounds terrifying to me, and I'm not sure I would want to even read this, but let's see. Psychological, nonlinear timeline, New York City, and multiple viewpoints again. She's looking for the perfect man, he's looking for the perfect victim. Sydney Shaw, like every single woman in New York, has terrible luck with dating. She's seen it all, men who lie in their dating profile, men who stick her with the dinner bill, and worst of all, men who can't shut up about their mothers. But finally, she hits the jackpot. Her new boyfriend is utterly perfect. He's charming, handsome, and works as a doctor at a local hospital. Sydney is swept off her feet. Then the brutal murder of a young woman, the latest in a string of deaths across the coast, confounds police. The primary suspect, a mystery man who dates his victims before he kills them. Terrifying. Sydney should feel safe. After all, she is dating the guy of her dreams, but she can't shake her own suspicions that the perfect man may not be as perfect as he seems. Because someone is watching her every move, and if she doesn't get to the truth, she'll be the killer's next victim. So scary. This book contains scenes that depict domestic abuse. Honestly, I think I would enjoy reading it, but I think it would freak me out a lot. Just the premise of dating and that ends up being a killer, and that's just so scary. But I think it would be a good read. I don't know if I want to own it though either. The last one is The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle, paranormal romance. Ooh. In this seductive tale of rival assassins and thieves, a desire for revenge might just ignite a dangerous romance. 400 plus pages, it's long again. Enemies to lovers, sorry, is my favorite though. It's first in a series and it's romantasy, which I do love romantasy, which is very trendy right now. In the dark underbelly of a beautiful city, two rival assassins are pitted against each other in a deadly game of revenge, where the most dangerous mistake of all is falling in love. Can't have that. In Phantom, a kingdom of cobbled streets, flickering lamplight, beautiful buildings, and secret catacombs, shade magic is a scarce and deadly commodity controlled by two enemy guilds, the Cloaks and the Daggers. Are you really? The Thieves and the Assassins. I don't know, that's kind of a fun name for them, I guess. On the night of her mother's murder, 17-year-old Seraphine runs for her life. Seeking sanctuary with the cloak, Sarah's heart is set on revenge. But are her secret abilities a match for the dark-haired boy whose quicksilver eyes follow her around the city? Nothing can prepare Sarah for the moment she finally comes face to face with Ransom, heir to the Order of Daggers. Ransom? But daggers, which means he's part of the Assassin's Guild. He should have been part of the Thieves Guild. Ransom. That's funny. And Ransom is shocked to discover that this unassuming farm girl wields a strange and blazing magic he has never seen before. Among rumors of monsters stalking the streets and the rival guilds grappling for control of Phantom's underworld, Sarah and Ransom are drawn together by something more than just magic and must face a deadly choice: forgiveness or vengeance, kiss or kill, dagger or flame. No content warnings. I don't know, this sounds like pretty fun read, but I'm not sure I want to own it still. I'm kind of leaning towards the Book of Witching as my pick. But there are also add-ons, so I was going to look at those. And I think from here up is new for this month. So The Bog Wife by Kay Chronister, which is gothic fiction. After a failed rite of passage, these siblings realize their family may be as dilapidated as their ancestral mansion. This sounds sad. It's emotional, so it's definitely sad. Siblings, multiple viewpoints, nature. There's a lot of multiple viewpoint books this month. Since time immemorial, the Hadsley family has tended the cranberry bog. In exchange, the bog sustains them. Sounds creepy. The staunch seasons of their lives are governed by a strict covenant that is renewed each generation with the ritual sacrifice of their patriarch, and in return, the bog produces a bog wife. What? Okay. Brought to life from vegetation, this woman is meant to carry on the family line. Okay. But when the bog fails or refuses to honor the bargain, how dare the bog? The Hadsleys, a group of discordant siblings still grieving the mother who mysteriously disappeared years earlier, face an unknown future. Whoa, so they sacrificed their dad and the bog refused the bog wife? And now they're just stuck with nothing? I don't know. Middle child Winna, summoned back to the dilapidated family manor just as her marriage is collapsing, believes the Hadsleys must abandon their patrimony. It's probably good to get away from this place. Her siblings are not so easily persuaded. Eldest daughter Ada, de facto head of the household, seeks to salvage the compact by desecrating it. Younger son Percy retreats into the wilderness in a dangerous bid to summon his own bog wife. Whoa. And as youngest daughter Nora takes desperate measures to keep her warring siblings together, fledgling patriarch Charlie, is that the oldest brother then, uncovers a disturbing secret that casts doubt over everything the family has ever believed about itself. Brimming with aching loss and the universal struggle between honoring family commitments and the drive to strike out on one's own, the bog wife is a haunting invocation of the arcane power of the habits and habitats that bound us. No content warning somehow. I don't know. This seems really interesting that the bog provides and sustains them and gives them a bog wife that's alive from just bog vegetation, but I don't know if I want to buy it, put it in my box. But it does seem kind of interesting, but it also seems sad, which I'm not in the mood for sad, really. Next add-on is We Solve Murders by Richard Osman, which is a mystery. An odd duo turns mystery solving into a new family business during a globe-trotting effort to outsmart a killer. Ooh, that seems fun. Quirky, whodunit, international underdog. Steve Wheeler is enjoying retired life. He does the odd bit of investigation work, but he prefers his familiar habits and routines. The pub quiz, his favorite bench, his cat waiting for him when he comes home. His days of adventure are over. Adrenaline is daughter-in-law Amy's business now. Amy Wheeler thinks adrenaline is good for the soul. As a private security officer, she doesn't stay still long enough for habits or routines. She's currently on a remote island keeping world-famous author Rosie D'Antonio alive, which was meant to be an easy job. It always is. Then a dead body, a bag of money, and a killer with their sights on Amy have her sending an SOS to the only person she trusts. A breakneck race around the world begins, but can Amy and Steve stay one step ahead of a lethal enemy? No content warnings. I don't know. This sounds more like a thriller than a mystery. I guess the mystery is who's the killer, but it sounds really more thrillery. It sounds like a good movie. I don't know if I want to read it as a book. Next is The Book of George by Kate Greathead, literary fiction. Close that useless dating app on your phone and open this incisive send-up of half the guys you were swiping on instead. Unlikable narrator, snarky New York City millennial. Just from that, it doesn't really sound like something that I would maybe like to read. But let's see. If you haven't had the misfortune of dating a George, you know someone who has. Oh, he's a young man brimming with potential but incapable of following through, non-committal to his long-suffering girlfriend Jenny, distant from but still reliant on his mother, funny one minute, sullenly brooding the next. Here, Kate Greathead paints one particular unforgettable George in a series of droll and surprisingly poignant snapshots of his life over 2 decades. And yet, it's hard not to root for George at least a little. Beneath his cynicism is a reservoir of fondness for Ginny's valiant willingness to put up with him. Each demonstration of his flaws is paired with a self-eviscerating comment. No one is more disappointed in him than himself, except maybe Ginny and his mother. Also sad. As hilarious as it is astute and singular as it is universal, the Book of George is a deft, unexpectedly moving portrait of millennial masculinity. No content warnings. I don't know. This sounds maybe like a fun read, but it also sounds kind of sad and like I am a millennial who has been dating for a long time and finally have stopped. So I don't know if I would want to read this kind of book. I don't know. I'd have to be in a very specific mood to read that. The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rekulak, a thriller. This was also one of the books I predicted for this month. I'm thinking I might add this one on because it looks really cool. Elation quickly turns to concern when a formerly estranged father meets the family his daughter plans to marry into. Family drama, glamorous, rural wedding. Frank Satowski is shocked when his daughter Maggie calls him for the first time in 3 years. He was convinced that their estrangement would become permanent. He's even more surprised when she invites him to her upcoming wedding in New Hampshire. Frank is ecstatic and determined to finally make things right. He arrives to find that the wedding is at a private estate, very secluded, very luxurious, very much out of his league. It seems that Maggie failed to mention that she's marrying Aidan Gardner, the son of a famous tech billionaire. Feeling desperately out of place, Frank focuses on reconnecting with Maggie and getting to know her new family. But it's difficult. Aidan is withdrawn and evasive, kind of rude. Maggie doesn't seem to have time for him, also kind of rude, but understandable because it's her wedding. And he finds that the locals are disturbingly hostile to the Gardners. That's not good. People in New Hampshire can be like crazy, can't they? Or is that just a stereotype? I don't know. I've never been there, but I've heard. Maybe I'm thinking of a different state though, but Frank needs to know more about this family his daughter is married into, but if he pushes too hard, he could lose Maggie forever. Family drama for sure. And that's hard. This book contains scenes that depict suicide. I didn't really know that was in here. That's interesting, but I don't know. I think that could be a really good one for like October Halloween season, kind of scary, but I'm not sure if I want to pay to add it on. No. What Does It Feel Like by Sophie Kinsella, contemporary fiction. Successful novelist must grapple with massive memory loss post-surgery in this affecting autobiographical novella. I feel like they haven't. Wait, is it autobiographical or is it contemporary fiction? Because wouldn't that be nonfiction? I'm a little confused by that. It also says it's melancholy, so again, I'm not super in the mood for a sad book. It does say inspirational as well, and heavy read, which emotional plus heavy read means definitely gonna cry, and under 200 pages. Eve is a successful novelist who wakes up one day in a hospital bed with no memory of how she got there. Her husband, never far from her side, explains that she has had an operation to remove the large malignant tumor growing in her brain. As Eve learns to walk, talk, and write again, and as she wrestles with her diagnosis and how and when to explain it to her beloved children, she begins to recall what's most important to her. Long walks with her husband's hand clasped firmly around her own, family game nights, and always buying that dress when she sees it. Recounted in brief anecdotes, each one is an attempt to answer the type of impossible questions recognizable to anyone navigating the labyrinth of grief. This short, extraordinary novel is a celebration of life shot through with warmth and humor. It will both break your heart and put it back together again. This sounds really sad. I could see it being a little inspirational. No content warnings. But I don't think I'm in the mood for such a sad book. The Stone Witch of Florence by Anna Rash, historical fiction. As the Black Plague tears through Italy, a formerly exiled healer is lured home and embroiled in a dangerous scheme. Feminist, underdog, international, and witchy. I don't know if I want a book, though, that's taking place during the Black Plague, but we'll see. Ancient sorcery, magic gemstones. Only one woman can save a city in ruins. 1348. As the Black Plague ravages Italy, Ginevra di Gasparo is summoned to Florence after nearly a decade of lonely exile. Oh, that's sad. Ginevra has a gift. Harnessing the hidden powers of gemstones, she can heal the sick. But when word spread of her unusual abilities, she was condemned as a witch and banished. At least she wasn't, killed, I guess. Now the same men who expelled Ginevra are begging for her return. Ginevra obliges, assuming the city's leaders are finally ready to accept her unorthodox cures amid a pandemic. But upon arrival, she is tasked with a much different something. She must use her collection of jewels to track down a ruthless thief who is ransacking Florence's churches for priceless relics, the city's only hope for protection. If she succeeds, she'll be a recognized physician and never accused of witchcraft again. But as her investigation progresses, Ginevra discovers she's merely a pawn in a much larger scheme than the one she's been hired to solve. And the dangerous men behind this conspiracy won't think twice about killing a stone witch to get what they want. It's interesting that they call her a stone witch. It's also interesting that they're not going to use her healing ability during a pandemic. And, what kind of ability does she have to find a thief? Why is she tasked with that? I don't know. That seems kind of weird. I'm not sure if I want that one. And then Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, literary fiction. I've heard a lot about this book, so I'm interested in this. Everyone's favorite modern Irish scribe, Sally Rooney, returns with a piercing ode to family, grief, love, and friendship. Romance, buzzy, 400 plus pages, which is pretty long again, siblings. Aside from the fact that they are brothers, Peter and Ivan Kobek seem to have little in common. Peter is a Dublin lawyer in his 30s, successful, competent, and apparently unassailable. But in the wake of their father's death, he's medicating himself to sleep and struggling to manage his relationships with two very different women. His enduring first love, Sylvia, and Naomi, a college student for whom life is one long joke. He's 30s, and he's dating a college student? Ivan is a 22-year-old competitive chess player. He has always seen himself as socially awkward, a loner, the antithesis of his glib elder brother. Now, in the early weeks of his bereavement, Ivan meets Margaret, an older woman. Ooh, an older woman. Emerging from her own turbulent past, and their lives become rapidly and intensely intertwined. That is interesting. For two grieving brothers and the people they love, this is a new interlude, a period of desire, despair, and possibility, a chance to find out how much one life might hold inside itself without breaking. No content warnings. I don't know. I've heard a lot of people talking about this and that it's really good, but I'm not sure if I would want to buy it. It's not exactly something that I would read, so I don't think I'd get that. I think I'm really interested in The Last One at the Wedding. The Bog Wife just seems so weird that I really want to read it, but I don't know if I want to buy it. But for the October books, I think I'm going with the Book of Witching. So those are the choices that are new for this month. Let me know if you're interested in reading any of those or if you're adding any of those to your TBRs. And if you have book of the month, let me know what you're gonna pick. So until next time, I'll just keep on writing.